Actually, we have 40 plus registered people, but just 12 showed up here. We'll see. Actually, we have four. Okay. So we're live on YouTube too. Good evening, everyone. And thank you for having your evening with us today. Today we have special edition. And we have my esteemed friend from Egypt, Riham Sayed Hilal, with us. She's co-hosting this amazing event, and actually she's the initiator of the event. And let me tell you a couple of words about our co-host first, and then we'll switch to the event and to our amazing speaker. First of all, Riham is a Master of Arts candidate in linguistics. She's a Relo mentor trainer and Egypt scholar mentor. You're very much welcome. And as you know, dear guests, today we're speaking about positive self-regulations for both teachers and students. And our guest speaker today is Anna Martinez Guano. And we'll see what Riham will tell us about our speaker. The stage is yours.
Hello, Kubra. It's lovely to see you here. I know this is not the first time that we are just here in just a mutual, let's say, like an event or just a webinar. So thank you very much for your welcome and warm hosting and welcome for me. Thank you very much
Thank you
for
for being with
um,
us.
this lovely invitation, and thank you very much. I do appreciate that so much, and I would like to thank you and thank Step Azerbaijan for such a lovely token that has been initiated by them. Today we have a very special guest, teacher Anna. Okay, and she's one of the most amazing, influential educators in health field. And let's just get to know more about her. Okay, all right. She's the founder of Positive Self Regulations, PSR, and the co-creator of the Super Amazing Me SAM program. And she's also the co-creator of the Super Amazing Me SAM program, and she has dedicated the last 5 years to developing a comprehensive framework that empowers the children and parents and also educate teachers to thrive through self-regulation. Of course, this is not everything about her, but like in 2016, she established Campus Educations, an inclusive and progressive preschool offering innovative programs such as robotics. And 5 years ago, she extended her or this vision by launching the Super Amazing Me, which is the summer program, that focus on cultivating structured learning activities. And today, the summer program already has reached learners in 3 countries worldwide. My dear Anna, you are welcome to present for us today this wonderful presentation. People from Egypt and Azerbaijan are just waiting to hear from you. Okay, so the floor is yours.
Okay, thank you everyone for having me. Thank you for the invite. This is new to me. It's 11 o'clock at night. It's a long day. So bear with me a little. And I'm going to talk about positive self-regulation. I would love an interactive group. So go ahead and put stuff in the chat box if you want to make comments along the way. That would be great too. I've done this in my most recent one that I shared this in a symposium in Taiwan. I'm familiar with the Asian culture, and I'm not very familiar with the Egyptian culture, other than what we studied when we were young in school, that it's like the pyramids and everything great about Egypt. So I'm like, oh, I'm in the midst of like solid, great people who built beautiful pyramids. Since I'm not all versed with the culture, I will refer to how we handle our culture and how we handle our emotions and things like that as a framework, if that's okay with everyone. So I'm going to start with talking about what positive self-regulation is all about. And I want to differ it first from other definitions of self-regulation. So here we go. So it all started in 2021 for me, right after COVID. We realized that there were so many, because I'm also not only a teacher, but I also have a degree in occupational therapy. So when this happened, we just got an influx of kids, very, very young children who has anxiety and a lot of fears and a lot of selective mutism, if you are familiar with that. And so we would see a lot of teenagers also having anger issues, that we were contributing it to maybe having one of the longest lockdowns in the world, because our lasted for 2 years. I don't know how long yours did, but ours was really, really long. And so to answer that question, since I work more in the preschool department at that time, we were really looking for something that could help children. And that's how we came about with self-regulation. I've worked in the US for a long time, and we have very many programs there as well with the social emotional learning. But there wasn't one thing that was really, really good and very particular to a very young age group. There was a lot for older children. So in our research, we looked at many things about behavior, and we realized that most kids go from trigger to action. And this means that, for example, a kid comes, gets something from another kid, and that kid just hits the other children. So that's what I mean from trigger to action right away. So we were thinking that if everything is a reaction for children and even adults, what can we do to help? And what was available for young children, again, we didn't see much of it. So we decided to make our own curriculum for self-regulation. What I want to say is self-regulation is not about self-control. It's really more about management. And I'll show you a bit more why that is. So self-regulation, just to give you a framework, is really the definition of it is how do you become your best self or your best level of functioning? How do you get there? What if you're angry? What if you're depressed? What if you're frustrated? How do you become okay? See, so self-regulation also, we realized like a lot of authors would talk about just being calm, your calm self, like how do I be calm? But actually, when you're regulated and your regulation needs for you to be alert, let's say you're lethargic, you need to regulate as well to be either calm or alert. So what do you think are the three things we regulate daily on a daily basis as human beings? What are the three things that we look at? The first is physical. Is your body doing okay? And are you sleeping well? Are you eating on time? And I know as teachers, our lives are very busy. And if you skip a meal, then how can you be your best self? See? And the mental regulation part of it is when you sleep at night, for example, I know a lot of people in my research are across the world. This is not just a Filipino or American phenomenon. They're trying to sleep, right? And then they're thinking, I should have done it this way. I could have done it this way, you know? So they're not mentally regulated as well. And of course, the most popular of them all is the emotional regulation. When we are sad, angry, frustrated, and things like that. So I want to talk on the three areas, because we're always seeing how to be emotionally okay, how to be regulated. But again, if you have a sleepy child, they're not really regulated, see? And we often forget that sleepy, hungry, thirsty. And if we are working with teenagers, because I heard that a lot of teachers here are secondary school, and if our teenagers are playing video games the whole night and stuck to their phones, how regulated are they? See? And so what it is I see a lot of dysregulation across children, across students, even across adults, really. And we don't even realize how dysregulated we are. So my staff and I really use the word, I feel dysregulated today. See, and just saying those words makes you want to do something about it. So we just having that vocabulary isn't like, I don't feel right. And it's just better to say, I feel dysregulated, and why? And this like, oh, I didn't sleep well that night. I forgot to drink enough water today. Or, oh, I'm really mad at my husband or my friend. And it just really, really helps. So the question is, when you're not okay, so how do you self-regulate consciously? So I'm going to ask the audience here, did you ever stop and think, how do I get to be okay? Like, because I'm not okay all the time, right? We're dysregulated, we're regulated. But did you stop and think, like, how did I become okay? And many of the literature will talk about if you are angry, you need to pause. If you are, but I kept asking, my team and I kept asking, well, what does the pause mean? Like, what is the pause between regulation, a dysregulation rather, pause, and then regulation? What's in the pause, right? Aren't you curious to know? How do you do that? And so we came up with a positive self-regulation formula, and you'll find out why we call it positive. Now, if you look at this, what we really just wanted was a framework that guided us, that guided little children. How do you get from being to okay? See? And so if you look on the top, it has like the blue one, meaning parts of this, when you go through this formula that we're proposing, you get more regulated. But if you look at the red, you see that this formula starts at a dysregulated state. So it really is from dysregulated to regulated. What happens in between? And the first step for that naturally is the T. And if you can guess it right, anybody in the chat box would like to guess what the T means? I mentioned it a while ago. And what it is first we get a trigger. There is a reason for our dysregulation. Okay. So a trigger could be internal and external. It could be noise. Like we work with a lot of children with autism, and then they can't handle the noise, see, and then they get triggered. And if you don't have that problem, you'll think, oh, but it's just a little noise. But since they have autism, it really doesn't feel good. And that could be a trigger in itself. Now, the trigger could also be just a thought or a memory that makes you feel, I remembered it again. Things like that, of that nature. And so, can triggers be imagined? Can they? Yes, you can. You can imagine a trigger. If you close your eyes and if you think of like mangoes or something that's really sour, and you close your eyes long enough, your mouth is gonna salivate, right? But there's no mango, there's no pickle, something, there's no sauerkraut or whatever it is, because we can imagine things. And what I want to really, really overemphasize is when you put, and as women, we're really good at this, like putting too much imagination on something to the point where you're triggered. See? And that's very, very dangerous. So when a child says, I'm scared of the monster under my bed, obviously there's no monster, right? But I don't go to a child and say, well, there's no monster here. And I really first validate the feeling. You must be scared, because I know that imagination can trigger that fear in them. And to dismiss it would be to invalidate feelings. Now, I don't have to agree with the monster under the bed, right? But I do have to agree that that thought scared the poor child. So that's the first thing I would do to help them get regulated. And this is highly important when dealing with even teenagers. We need to hear where their fears are coming from, because they don't say it aloud. I have a kids who refuse to do the work, but really inside, they're really more scared of being wrong. See? And they'd rather not try, or they have family problems and things of that nature. So just going beyond what we see is such a good skill to have. And that's when a lot of children reach out and say, you really understand me. And that's because as an adult, I'm trying to see what's on the other side. See? Because so that's the trigger. If I can identify the trigger, that makes me a great friend, even. The second part, so let's say personally, I'm triggered. This makes me so mad, or just doesn't feel good. What is the next thing that we should do? And that's the A. And if you can guess the A, after I get the trigger, let's talk about attunement. Attunement means you've got to listen to what happens inside of you, and you got to look outside too. See? And sometimes there's we don't attune as much, and I'll tell you why later, but attunement is internal. Like, how does your chest feel? Does it make you want to cry? Or what's the external attunement? Maybe it's just too noisy, or maybe you see danger. That's very good to attune to danger as well. Now, the question now is, are we always attuned? Do we really know what's going on inside and outside of us all the time? Remember, I said a while ago, many people go from trigger to action right away. And the problem with that, remember, is have you ever tried some days where you're like, I am so sorry for what I said. I should have not said it, but I was so angry. See? And that's a good example of trigger to action. So now you have to go back and apologize. So this is what I'm talking about, that there are steps to avoid hurting other people. But the question is, why aren't we always attuned? Why? And there are very, very common reasons. The first is we're like the pilot here, we're on autopilot. We just go day to day, day to day. And are we really living or just going by what we need to do? Sometimes we're just too busy. We can't appreciate the sunset anymore. Also, maybe because nobody told us to attune to ourselves. And if we're invalidated, what I mean by invalidated is if the adults that we grew up with never really told us that our feelings matter. So let's say you go to your mom and say, Mom, I feel this. Don't worry about it. That's so little. Da, da, da. So you never really learn to attune and value your own feelings and your own strength. And the problem with that is, especially with my research with women, it's as if we put ourselves second to everything. And now we're tired. And now it's like, I just want to treat myself. I don't feel valued. But the first person that needs to value us is us. See? And that's where attunement comes in. So attunement really means connection. It's connection to yourself so you can connect better with other people. I find that the people who get angry right away, they're really not attuned to themselves. They're more attuned to the feeling, right, than their own self-worth. So after you attune and say, oh, this is how I feel inside, the next thing is an EX. And what could that be in the positive self-regulation formula? Any guesses? Okay. The next part is to express your emotions. Express it. Even if you have to whisper it or just say it in your head, like, I'm mad, right? And to be okay with it. You have every right to be mad. Now, let's look at this concept for a minute. Big emotions equals big expressions. What does that mean? That means if I'm excited and I'm like, that's very acceptable, right? Because that's a big, can you imagine going to someone and telling them, don't be excited, don't be excited? It's going to be really hard, right? So a big emotion equals big expression. If you can put a thumbs up if you agree with me, that would be great. If you don't, that's fine too. So I have another expression that is also big, like excitement. Anger is also a big emotion. But I don't know about Egypt, but in the Asian culture, if our children are so angry, they're like, and they start stomping their feet. In our culture, it's considered disrespectful. It's like children cannot be angry. Go to your room, right? And but then we just said that big emotion is just a big expression. But we don't like our children angry. We're embarrassed if they have little tantrums along the way. But the problem with that, really, I mean, if your children stomp their feet in anger, so angry, and that's not okay. So the question now, I always ask parents when I do this conference or even teachers, I say, so how should children express their big feelings of anger, pain, and sadness? How? When we are human beings, there's a big chance if you live in this world, you're going to experience anger, pain, and sadness. And we don't teach our children how to do this. In fact, we tell them, well, again, I don't know about your culture, but a lot of us just say, well, suck it up. And what does that mean? Don't be angry. Don't be angry. Don't make that face. We're actually telling them, repress your anger, suppress it, suck it up, put it inside, right? And how is that going to help them grow up to be emotionally stable? And if children don't know at a young age how to say, these are just feelings. I'm angry now, but they come and go, right? If they don't know that, I have a lot of teenagers who don't know how to deal with failure, who do not know how to deal with pain, grief. And my work has brought me to many people, young people that are even suicidal. And they have one thing in common. They're not allowed to express their emotions, supposed to bottle up inside. And yet they have to show us human beings that are emotionally stable. But stability means being able to take all the emotions and be okay with it. It doesn't mean that it doesn't come, see? And suppression and repression is very, very scary. Actually, a lot of repressed people are explosive. They're waiting for a chance to just be angry. So, what do I teach children? I say, express your feelings in healthy ways. And again, I ask parents, okay, you know that your child's going to be angry. How do you teach them to be angry? What do you allow, knowing that it's a big emotion? It's got to get out of your body. I don't know if anybody in the audience has tried this, but when you're extremely mad, sometimes you really feel it in your hands. Feel it in your body. You feel the anger rise. You feel the heat rise up. See? Because there are chemical changes that happen. Now, there's only two rules. I know you're angry, be angry, but don't hurt yourself and don't hurt someone else. So at the preschool level, I say, I know you're angry, I know you're upset, but you can't throw a toy at your friend. See? Don't hurt yourself, don't hurt other people. And if I had a teenager that was slashing, for example, and doing self-harm, I would say the same thing. You can be angry, but please don't hurt yourself. Don't hurt somebody else. But I never go to a child or someone or even a friend and say, don't be angry. In fact, I discourage people because in our culture too, we go to a friend and we say ahead of time, don't be mad, but I did this. What if we changed our lingo and say, hey, Kubra, I know you're going to be mad, but let me tell you what I did. And that means I allow Kubra to be mad because I just messed up, right? I allow her to have that feeling. Imagine me, I already hurt her and I'm not letting her be angry. See? So it's just funny the way we do things. So now I want you to take a moment and think, well, how about you? How do you handle your stress? What do you do with all your feelings? See? And so This brings the next part. Trigger, attune. Be honest with yourself. How does it really feel? Express, okay, that was sad. This sucked. I miss my dad that passed away, you know? And then the PSRS, if you guessed it right, it is the positive self regulation strategy. Now, how does that how does that look like? You choose a strategy that can get you calm or alert or okay, that your heart and your body is okay. So, for example, if you're so angry, why don't you take a walk before you say nasty words that you can't take back? See, that's your regulating strategy. You say, I'm so dysregulated. What you told me was dysregulating. It became my trigger. You know what? Let me do a positive self regulation strategy. Let me take a walk, or let me take a deep breath first, or let me. And remember, we don't want trigger to action. And a lot of this breathing that we do actually is very good because it oxygenates our brain and brings us into another level. And what are the different self regulating strategies? We have a ton. And I'm not going to go into that each and everything right now, but think of this, like taking that moment. Remember we talked about that pause. What if I journal? What if I draw? What if, and some people that I know clean. They're so mad. They do mad cleaning. See, a lot of people take a walk. Um, they get a massage, get a stress ball. You have to have a go-to, right? Why is it's so important? Because if we don't have a go-to, we will most likely choose negative ones. Like for me, I'm like, "Ah, I'm so stressed. I need a cake." But I don't need the whole cake. I can do a slice. See? And so if you don't have one, if we don't have one, we end up overeating. And in my research around the world, women that are stressed sometimes deal with regulating at the end of the day when the family is asleep, when the house is quiet. They're there, Instagramming, social media, even if their eyes are hurting. See, but do we really need to see all that? No, it's just that our day needs to. I just want to feel okay before I sleep. And some of the people also do online shopping. They do add to cart, add to cart. But the reality is, you don't need that other add to cart. You just really need a day where you're like, ah, see? And so a lot of people might go to a negative self regulation strategy. They could go into drinking. See? They can open the door for vices. Because a lot of the children I interviewed that fell into addiction never said, "Oh, teacher Anna, I always planned to be addicted." No, it was always like, "I don't know how to get rid of this feeling. And being out with my friends and partying made me forget." Because it's that running away, that repression, see, that keeps us hooked to the wrong things. It's the same things with our physical body. I'm so tired. Let me have another cup of coffee. But it's your sixth cup of coffee. How is it a positive self regulation? I need to be rescued by this. No, you need another positive self regulation strategy, not another cup of coffee. Okay. Are we good so far? So think about the activities that you do when you're stressed. Are they positive? Are they negative? Do you start shouting at people? Because when we do this, any human being on the planet, the patience is this much because you took on dysregulation after dysregulation after dysregulation. And if you're a teacher, your students could suffer. I'm sure you've had a teacher once in your lifetime that you knew was in a bad mood come to class and made everybody suffer. They're dysregulated. Moms do this too. And if you're married, our families deserve better. We go home and our children need us, and it's just and we're so dysregulated. It's like, who wants to be a mom? See? So that is why we want to teach self-regulation, that you show up as your best self, because we are the adults. So what if you have more negative self-regulation strategies than positive ones? What kind of mom, sister, teacher would you be, always reacting? And so the beauty of this is, if you had a formula, if you didn't have a formula, you can borrow ours until you find your own. See? Because the way we do it is very, very personal, but this is a good start. So your trigger would be like, especially if you couldn't deal with the problem at the moment, sometimes stepping away from it is very, very helpful. It's really like, okay, if my mother-in-law triggers me, what's my regulation strategy? So I still show up as my best calm self. In fact, one of the moms that I work with, who runs several companies and is highly stressed, a modern day woman, she goes like, you know what? I wrote down, if it's this stress, this is my regulating strategy. If it's this, and the reason I put this on speed dial, I mean, she has it in her phone. She goes like, because when I am mad, I cannot think anymore. So I go to my phone and say, okay, I think I need to get a glass of water or take a break, or I need to go to the beach because I'm just overwhelmed. So can you imagine what type of self-care that is? And she shows up as the best version of herself. So let's go back. You see, again, you see how dysregulated you are. And once you're in your positive self-regulation, it's a little bit more blue than it is red, because you are slowly getting regulated. Now, in the bottom, it says EXPSRS. What does that mean? Expression is overlapping with your positive self-regulation strategy. An example for that is a good cry. You're expressing your pain, your grief, and it just feels so good after a good cry, right? And that's what that expression and self-regulation strategy means. Crying is good, crying is healthy, crying our cortisol levels go down because of that. See? So I remember when my father passed away, it was very nice to, you know how you see your friend, and my friend knows my dad too. It was like his daughter, and we just saw each other, and we just started crying and started hugging and crying and laughing and crying at the same time. But it felt so good. I remember just feeling really, really good after a good cry. There shouldn't be any shame in crying. I think for women, there really isn't. But a lot of cultures that I study, I feel bad for the men who are who would be seen like too girly if they were crying. And I feel sad because it's just a cry. Cortisol, letting go of your cortisol or your stress hormone, tears help that. And if they can't cry and they can't be mad or angry or whatever, how can they grow up to be emotionally healthy? And we rely on our men to be our stronghold, but who's holding them together? See, I feel like as women, we are more regulated because we have each other. A lot of us can phone a friend, right? And say, well, I'm not feeling so good. Let's go talk. But I don't see that in a lot of men calling other men for emotional support. So I think in that respect, we're a bit healthier. Okay. So now that you're regulated, so you've done your walk, you feel better. I think this is the right time now to see, which is to contemplate. This is a good time to start thinking about what you're going to do next. See, because now you're not thinking in anger. You can think things through. And I guess when you are in a better state, we're not as violent or as angry or as reactive, see. And so think about how would your decision making be if you started from a regulated place? What if I came home and I said, look, kids, give me 5 minutes. Mommy just needs to XYZ, right? And then come out as a regulated person. And otherwise, we would be shouting all the time at our children, and that's not a good childhood. So when we think of our next step of activity contemplation, the last one is this is the time that I suggest we do an action. Not from a dysregulated state where there's a big chance that we would regret it, see? And so it's such a simple formula. Trigger, attune, even just for 2 seconds, however it is. This gets easier and faster, by the way, if it's practiced. And then this is how I feel. So we're validating ourselves too. I'm going to choose my right strategy. When I feel better, I can think better, and then I can act accordingly. Okay. So the action, hopefully, that we take is a positive step forward. Are you angry because somebody broke a boundary? Then maybe it's time to reset it at this time, right? Maybe your needs are denied and that's your trigger. Maybe we could make a request or just show up as a better person, not an emotional person all over the place. See? Okay. So the final thought is we have to teach our children a couple of truths. Number one, all feelings are valid. Now, again, I said I'm not going to validate the monster under the bed because that doesn't exist, but I will validate you to tell you, yes, I see you. I see that you are scared. See, because it's just feelings. Regulation can also be learned, but it needs to be taught to children as well so they know how to handle their stress. And then we are allowed to also ask for what we need. So here's the formula again. And now the question is, but teacher Anna, how old should we be teaching self-regulation? So I came across this mom that is teaching her child regulation. And let me check, and I hope that it plays. Give me 1 second here. Okay. Let me see that this plays. Okay. Here. I have it again. And here. Oh. Let me go down. I'm sorry about this. Give me a second. And so this is just a video I found on the internet. And I was just really, it's about a little kid. Can you hear that? No. Wait, can you hear
Nope.
the child? No.
No.
Okay. Can
You can share
we?
the sound, please, Anna.
Yes.
Yeah.
I'm trying to do that, but I can't seem to see it there.
When
Stereo
you share the
high
screen,
quality.
when you share the screen, click on the share
I see
sound
it. Share
option.
sound. I see it. Thank you.
No problem.
Okay, here we go. Ready? Let me know thumbs up, Reham, if you can hear it.
This a small choice. You know, earlier I couldn't go outside, so I was still a little sad.
Yeah,
hmm
but that was a consequence.
But after I was a little sad, I was a little bit upset. More than a little.
More than a little upset?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. We all get upset sometimes.
Yeah.
We don't get what we want all the time.
Mama also don't. Papa also don't. But it's hard for babies to do that. You know, earlier, baby dropped the plate and Papa got angry at her, and I told Papa to stop breathe slow, and make a smart choice
Mm-hmm.
for Papa.
And then did he do it?
Yeah, but earlier I chose to be a tiny bit mad, but after a while I was okay.
You were okay?
Life
Life is like that. We get upset, we get mad, we cry.
That's emotions, Mama.
That's emotions, I know. And then we feel better after we cry.
Yep. You do, even when you're upset or angry.
Mm-hmm.
Always different kinds of feelings. Even though when you're scared.
Mm-hmm. That's another emotion.
Yeah, a different kind of emotion.
Mm-hmm.
No, I was wrong. Today I had a all time doing my emotions.
Yeah,
Yeah, it is today.
that's okay.
But it means
We're learning.
even though when I was that mad, you still love me that so much.
Of course. Always.
Yeah, I love you too.
So, if you see in that video, we can teach little children to deal with their little stresses. And I just want to share that I work in special education also and in early childhood. I actually had one father come up to me and said to me, he pulls me aside and he says, I am so embarrassed. And I'm like, why? And he goes like, well, I was driving my kid to school today and somebody cut me off in traffic and I was just saying nasty things. And my 4-year-old touches me and says, Dad, let's just do some rainbow breathing together. And he was just like, I'm so embarrassed. My 4-year-old is the one teaching me, how to be a better person. See? So in our preschool and the work that I do, I really start with little children. And I'm not going to I show the formula today. That would be another long discussion about the program. But in a nutshell, it's about characters and stories and songs and clay and things like that. So that the children identify more with characters in the story and they make decisions based on that. We have it till high school as well. But as the kids get older, our self-regulation looks at their highest dysregulating things, which are friendships, the complexities of having a crush and friendships and dealing with parents they can no longer really relate to. And so every chapter of self-regulation changes. Now, if I were dealing with adults, it's sometimes it stems back to the childhood that we had and it's just a bit harder to choose to regulate at a deeper level where we're more respectful of how we truly feel inside and a lot of issues with worthiness as well. So I'm going to share with you, I'm going to ask if there's any questions at this point so that I wanted to talk a little about co-regulation as well. Do we have any questions before I continue? No one has questions about the formula?
Anna, some attendees would like to have the link for the video, please, if you could provide that.
Okay. I can send that to you over.
Thank you very much.
Anything else? Since we do this in several countries, I'm trying to collect evidence-based practice on data really of its effectivity. One of the studies that I did was we did a whole self-regulation program. And right after the program, the kids were doing so well. But we looked at them a couple of months later to see if they were still regulating. We realized that the ones that kept regulating, it's because the parents were also teaching them. the parents also got into the program and were using the right words. So their children are still having a lot of feelings, but they're calm about it. They're not explosive as compared to the parents that didn't practice it. So we realized that such a big part of it is it's just like this. It's like teaching children to eat well, teaching them to eat their vegetables and so on. And they're like saying, okay, I'm eating vegetables now. But then they go home to a house that's highly dysregulated or doesn't give them vegetables. Obviously, after a while, they're going to go back to the junk food. So the responsibility really of making sure our children learn how to regulate, because we cannot avoid stress, is really with the adults around them. So I'm going to show you right now a co-regulation piece of what we can do as adults in our own way to co-regulate children. And I'll do that in 15 minutes so that my hour will end, because I want to be respectful of your time as well. So just remember this, that a dysregulated adult cannot regulate a child. So what super stands for is easy. If you have a difficult person, not just a child, okay, situation, the first thing we've got to do is we've got to learn to self-regulate. In other words, if you're angry, don't meet somebody angry, because you'll create a bigger explosion. That's the truth. So regulate first. So you're the calm person, get your brain calm, that you don't go into their frenzy. Okay. Then the second thing to do is to uncover. So uncover really is about understanding, if you can, and you can do it quick, the why of it all. I have a raised hand. Is that a question?
It's actually like a statement because I really want to get to that point. It's something that needs to be
Me too.
discussed, honestly. Yeah, it's something that needs to be discussed. So to
I
understand this
know.
fully, so you're meaning that parents can support their children's self-regulation by modeling calm behavior and teaching simple, consistent strategies for, like, for example, when
Mhm.
a child becomes overwhelmed, a parent can encourage pause and breathe moments. You get what I mean? Deep breaths, counting to 10. Hence, you just said that a parent has to self-regulate themselves if they want to conduct like an orthodox welfare. That's
Yes,
what you mean, right? Yeah.
exactly.
Okay. So yeah, I
Yeah.
got this point covered. Thank you so much.
All right. Um, yes. So I'll go back to, we really can't regulate anybody when we're dysregulated, like you said. That's so true. But there's one thing that I tell parents: don't always show up as a calm person. Show up as a person that did something to be calm. Because some of the parents like hide their dysregulation, and it's not as powerful as they see you dysregulated and you're like, I'm dysregulated, give me a minute. And so children look at you to see, well, how do you handle your stress? As opposed to some of the moms before that, they'll tell me, oh, I hide in the bathroom so my kids don't see me all frazzled. I'm like, no, that's not the reality, because they'll think that you're a superwoman and my mom was calm all the time or alert all the time. So it's just more powerful, at least in the research that I do, to, when we say model, uh, let them see your struggle, so that when they hit the same roadblocks, they're like, oh, my mom struggled with this too, and she did this. So that was one of the things that I learned along the way. So how do we, going back to how to co-regulate. So co-regulation means I am lending the child my calm so that they can be calm. Now, if you can uncover the trigger, especially with kids with needs, it is harder to see what is it. Is it the sound? Is it the light? Are you getting tired? And so on and so forth. But if you can uncover it, then the P here is now you can provide co regulation, because now you're regulated, and so you provide your own calm. Otherwise, our children, when they start shouting and when they start being dysregulated, they trigger us too. And a lot of parents in my study, of different cultures, by the way, not just the Asian cultures, American too, is like when they get triggered by the dysregulation of their children, they get dysregulated and they start saying, stop it, sit down, da 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 da, because they just can't handle that kind of stress as well. And so the cycle continues. And after we do that, we evaluate, adapt, and remediate. And I'll go through that as fast. So in the parent reflection, I ask them to really identify what helps them regulate, and do they escalate it unintentionally, because sometimes we have a way of making things worse for children. This is the uncover part. Notice internal and external triggers of your child. And if you can really see, because children, sometimes it's not the toy that was grabbed, it's because I was hungry, or I didn't sleep well, or I didn't get my way, or they denied me my gadget, or whatever it is. And so I have an angry kid already coming in. Attuning to our children is really seeing the triggers that is not immediate. I find that a lot of children, when they are unhappy at home, they bring it to school with them, because I've never seen a happy, adjusted kid from a good family not have any maladjustments either. So the power of co-regulation is this, that we also do not teach the regulating strategy at the time of distress. So long before they're having a tantrum, we're already practicing deep breathing at home. Or long before they have a tantrum, we're already practicing taking a walk, or drinking water, or doing the rainbow breaths. Because when the child is already dysregulated, they're not going to think of what to do next. Unlike adults who have the capacity to think beyond that, they're just going to have their full-blown me. And for children, even for teenagers, their problems is very self-centered, of course. And it's like the end of the world. Like, I lost my toy, and it's like the end of the world. So everything is drastic when you are when you're a child. I'll never have friends again, or I'll never get married. So, and you as an adult, a rational thinker, you're thinking, no, that's silly. But again, when we say that, we're invalidating them. So I'm just like, I see you're upset, and it's not the time to talk to them. Why? Because the mind isn't rational. And I see a lot of parents trying to explain to their children at the time when someone's dysregulated, and how much thinking happens when you're just on your emotional brain. So what we have is, we're lending our calm. We're like, I see you, I'm here. What I tell teachers at the younger ones, or the ones with special needs, is sometimes some of these kids, their explosion and their emotions are so big, they might even throw their shoe at you. And we would have to distance ourselves and say, and put that boundary, because I don't want to excuse you just because you're having a tantrum. You can now hurt me. I'm like, I'm sorry, sweetie, but I know you're angry, but we don't throw shoes. Because again, I'm putting the very firm boundary, but I'm doing it in my calmest voice, but my body is calm, my energy is calm. We were teaching people to do what we call soft eyes, that you don't glare at children like this. Even your face is calm. And what I learned when I was working in special education in the US, they like soft eyes, but I realized inside I was a bit mad. Like, oh, here you go again, having a time. So I learned through time to not even have that, because even if my face looked calm, the energy and my presence wasn't co-regulating. I was busy regulating myself from being angry. See? So that's masking, and that's not true co-regulation. So it's really being, and just understanding that these are kids. What do they know? And if we have to review the 4 stress responses, when children get stressed, or people that get stressed, they either fight, flight, freeze, or fawn. And I'm looking at my students. not taking it personally, because a stress response might be a fight. And this is when they push, or even adults when they start shouting at each other. That's just explosively fighting. Some people flight. Some say, I'm out of here. I don't want to deal with the stress. I'm leaving. Some people freeze. They literally like, I don't know what to do. This is so stressful. They look around like this. But the funny thing about freezing too is I see this also in people who, let's say you have a lot to do and you're on the couch and you're turning on the couch and you're like, don't you have a lot to do? And you're just freezing. Like, the thought of all the work just makes me want to roll on my couch. That could be a freeze response as well. Now, fawning is another response that we do when we're saying, and this is very common in women, like if two people are fighting, for example, like you're a mom and two of your daughters are fighting and you just fawn and you say, you know what, never mind, never mind, never mind. I'll be the one to cook. I'll be the one to cook. Just be quiet. Or maybe if there's projects to be done at school and you're a student, and I see a lot of my students go like this, never mind, I'll just do it. I'll just type up the essay. My gosh, because they don't know how to work in a group. See? And sometimes you say, what a nice person. But I'm really thinking this poor child can't handle that stress and she'll take on that burden. So I don't know about the nice. I really look at it sometimes from a different set of eyes. Is this a fawner? Is this her stress response? Because we need to teach her better ones, or this person will be so tired, like she's putting the world in her shoulders. So I look at children and I look at their uh, brain state, and what I mean by that is, how we start at the thinking brain and then we go to the emotional and then we go to the survival. So what I mean by that is, if they're in the thinking brain, that's great. Now I can talk to you logically. But what if the person I'm trying to co-regulate, naturally, I don't need to regulate anybody in the thinking brain. But if the person beside me is an emotional brain, and sometimes the kids will say, I hate you, da da da. So they're more drawn to their emotions. But if they're already here in survival, where they're fighting already, fight, flight, freeze mode, it's not a time to talk to children. They can't think it through. So what I do is I regulate them. Yes, I'm here. Calm, teacher's here. When you're ready, talk to me, okay? And give them that space, change my demeanor, change my energy. What I really want to be is a safe space. Even with my children, my child, my nieces, I am a safe space. And I do say words like, oh, that's upsetting to me. Give me a moment and then tell me more, so that they also see me struggle with my own feelings, but come out still as the responsible adult. So tantrums and meltdowns are obviously different. Tantrums, it's really about control, about not getting what they want. I also analyze that too. Or is it a meltdown? So a meltdown is tired, hungry, too much overwhelmed by the senses and all that, common again in autism. So if it's a meltdown, I remove them from the environment because it's just too much. I co-regulate both, and the tantrum is something like we discussed later, because the point of the co-regulation first is, what kind of presence does my child need, and how do I connect first before I correct? Because I will correct that behavior if it is a tantrum, but not now. Not now, because again, it's not a thinking brain, it's an emotional brain, which is really having a stress response. So when the child is better regulated a few hours later, even the next day, I can wait and say, yesterday, could we have done a better choice? But this time I am talking to a thinking brain, not the emotional brain, not the surviving brain. And most of my children are like this. Yeah, I get, I made me so mad, but I'm talking now. See, never at the time of a tantrum or a meltdown. And so I also think of the unmet need. What do I mean by that? Why was he having such a hard time when teacher said no? And I realized, oh, he's missing a skill. He does not know how to take no for an answer. And some kids are so entitled, like they pretty much 90% of the time get what they want right away, that they don't know, they don't develop patience or persistence, and that's the problem with a semi-charmed life. Right? It's true. And we blame the children, but I really go back to the parents and say, your children doesn't know how to handle disappointment. And that's going to be deadly as an adult. See, how many friends would they have if everything is just about me, myself, and I? So I ask, what's beneath the behavior and what can we do to prevent it? And just looking for that extra step downwards really, really helps. Before I do the last part of the super, which is remediate, I need to teach the missing skill. What is it? Was it because they couldn't communicate? Was it because it was a physical dysregulation? Your child needs to sleep more. I don't know, but across the world, with a lot of consults I do, they don't sleep well at all. And one of the things I realized at my research, that if children or teenagers, they do video games that are violent, when they sleep, their amygdala, or that part of their brain that's on survival mode, still thinks it's at the war, because it can't tell the difference between reality, and it either comes out in their dreams, or they know not to sleep well, like the rested sleep, like the deep, beautiful rested sleep that we all want. So, and then they come to school and they're trying to best to be awake and be their best. And so the remediation, I ask myself, is restoration needed here? And what's the real underlying? And through time, through looking at patterns, you can get the guesses become really, really more accurate, but it is another discussion, another art, and another science to it. Because if all we're doing as adults and as teachers is we're just putting out fires, we're not really helping the children. One of the great things about being a teacher is we can influence the whole life, see? And it's beyond academics. And so the missing skills, what are they? And these are the common ones. Is it they don't know how to do emotional regulation? Maybe they have a problem with executive functioning, their working memory, their flexible thinking. Maybe it's their social skills. They can't read social cues. They can't share. Maybe it's their communication. They don't know how to make a friend, ask for help. Maybe it's sensory processing. Again, a lot of autistic children have this problem. Maybe they can't regulate their own behaviors, such as waiting or pausing before reacting. Maybe it's academics that are making them all stressed out. Maybe it's they don't have the living. I mean, there's tons and tons of reasons, because fundamentally, I think children react more to us. I don't see children being they're good. Basically, I think children are good. They just don't have the tools, and nobody's really, really sat down to teach them how to handle life very well. Children react more. I mean, I don't see children thinking at night, well, how do I make teachers Anna's life impossible tomorrow? See? Sometimes they're just unhappy about other things and not me. So the final message for this, if you master, again, co-regulation is another hour just to go through. So in a nutshell, it's nervous system informed. It's not a difficult child. Can't handle that nervous system. So what I want for us to do is we want to respond as adults, not react. And we build skills, not punish them for not knowing how to regulate, right? And children really, really do well when they can. There. And that's speeding up what co-regulation is in a nutshell. But I hope you look into more of it, because again, co-regulation is another couple of hours if we really want to go deeper. But I hope I've set some kind of tone, and that we realize as adults, man, I'm so dysregulated. I'm just not showing up as my best self. And I've never really taught my kids how to co-regulate. I've taught them how to react, but I haven't taught them how to deal with their deepest hurts. Yes. All right. I'm open to questions.
Thank you, Anna. That was amazing, and so many information for further investigation. And before we go to question and answer part, I just want to remind you, dear participant, that here in the chat box you have the link where you can follow and fill in your name, surname, and email address, just as you want it to be expressed on the certificates. And that's all. So we have hands up. And I'm I guess we have a question.
Okay. Yes, please.
What I got?
Oh, that was cute.
I just want to say something.
Yes, please.
Well, the thing is, I can't believe that the session has already finished. It's
It's been an hour.
yeah,
Thank you
yeah.
for hanging on.
I just want to provide provide quick feedback. So, first of all, let me thank you for delivering such an insightful lecture on self-regulation. Your explanations were extremely clear, practical, and very relatable for both parents, educators, and maybe children. Yeah. I especially appreciate how you connected real life scenarios with simple strategies. You did an amazing job. This is pretty much the first time for me to attend, but I'm looking forward to attending more of these like insightful sessions indeed. And yeah, please do conduct sessions on self-regulation because we do need that. Like in real life, we do need self-regulation because it's one of the essential aspects in life. That's
Thank
it.
you, Doctor.
That's all I gotta say.
Thank you, Dr. Turk. I appreciate that. Are
So
there
any more questions?
questions you can ask me? Questions about how to regulate? Actually, you should know. I gave you the formula. Maybe you have scenarios.
Well, I think, Teacher Anna, that the
It's
session
gonna
was
be a
actually more
question to another
self-based.
session.
Okay. All right. Sorry, what was that, Riha?
Okay, I think that the session was actually more than amazing, and you explained and clarified and elaborated on many things. So, teacher were actually following smoothly during the session. That's why they feel like more than amused. Okay, related to that.
You can relate to from your culture.
Yes,
from one
I can relate to
culture
my
to yours.
culture.
We're all the same, huh?
Yeah,
A
right.
bunch of dysregulated adults trying to just live life the best way we can. Yeah.
We do need self-regulation, especially in Egypt.
No, we need it here too.
Yeah, like especially the Egyptian children. They drive us insane. Like the majority of teachers in Egypt are about to go psycho, you know?
I believe you. Yeah. Okay. Well,
So Cobra, right. Okay, I would like to thank you very much indeed for hosting us, okay, and for hosting this wonderful session. Indeed, with this step, I feel so excited and honored to be a part of that, okay, today. And I would like really to thank a heartfelt thank to Teacher Anna for her amazing presentations, the clarity and passion that make that made this session wonderful and more than amazing. And actually, the practical strategies that you provided, the calm energy and the deep insights that you have actually delivered in this session made the topic more powerful, and actionable learning experience really will be very fruitful actually inside the classrooms and for both teachers, students, and any educator, by the way. And as one of the attendees, Dr. Tark has said that we really need more session about self-regulations because we really need this one. Thank you very
Oh,
much, Teacher Anna.
just a quick note. My name is Mr. Hazem Turk, not Tariq. But okay, thank you so much, Mr. Ham.
Thank you so much. dear Anna and Riham, for making all this possible. And definitely, we should have some more sessions on the same topic. And I would like to say thank you to all the participants to be here with us and making this event even more amazing. And personally, for myself, I took a lot of new information, and it's definitely the sphere of for research. And I do hope it will be helpful for our participants too. Thank you so much.
All right. Thank you for having me. Thank you for the invite. And we say good night because it is I'm gonna be dysregulated soon because it is midnight. Dysregulated tomorrow. Sleep. But I wish everybody from my heart to yours, please stay positively self-regulated. All right. Good night, everyone.
Okay, good
Thank
night.
you.
Have a
Take
great
care.